Not yet. Oh, hello. So hello everyone here and who will see the video later. Today our theme is journey. So journey can mean a lot of things. The theme was chosen by our Muscat chapter in Oman and illustrated by Salim Al-Salami. It's a good topic to start the year, because yes, it's the basic metaphor for every starting. We are starting a journey. This journey can be everything we want. We are journeying through different ages of our own life. We journey through different circumstances outside. We journey through our creativity path. So this is why I'm wanting to introduce Fabio Deotto, writer and journalist. And we will explore together the path of creativity in many different ways. So thank you, the stage is yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you all, and Happy New Year also, because it's in January.
Thank you. I have to apologize because I'm still recovering from a bad cold, so you will hear this clogged nose, and sorry if sometimes I have to blow my nose because but I'm not infectious, so don't worry. So in my journey as a writer, I wrote fiction and nonfiction. I struggled a lot with inspiration and tried to find the right inspiration, the right ideas, and a lot of time. I spent a lot of time struggling with it and bashing my head against the laptop keyboard in search for ideas. And then I realized that the best ideas came to my mind when I was not doing that. And this prompted me to study better how inspiration works. And when we talk about inspiration, there is an image that has become a symbol of inspiration, which is that of, I'm sure everybody knows that, the image of Sir Isaac Newton is sitting under a tree, and then an apple falls on his head, and he realizes that all the objects in the earth seem to fall towards the center of the earth. And we know that this is a fictionalized anecdote because Sir Isaac Newton was not actually sitting under a tree. And the apple didn't fall on his head. He was wandering, he was walking through his orchard, and he saw an apple fall. And he started thinking about and putting pieces together for his theory of the gravitational theory. And but the important thing about this anecdote, which is a true thing, is that when he had that idea, it was taking a break. And this is an important thing. We'll explore it during our talk. And it is important because when we think about inspiration, we tend to divide into two groups. There are people that believe that there is a sacred fire inside our hearts, something of magical origin, godly origin, that sparks us with inspiration. And other writers, artists, and creative people think that inspiration doesn't actually exist. It's actually the byproduct. Good ideas are the byproduct of hard work. Well, both these groups are wrong in a way, and both are right, because actually inspiration does exist, but it's not of godly origin or magical origin. It's actually a neurological thing. And but the reason we think about inspiration as something magical is because for a long time, humans thought they were not the true authors of their destiny. And so the Greeks thought that inspiration was a state of rapture, sort of ecstasy-like, ecstatic-like state in which gods used us as vehicles for their ideas. And the Romans divided between creativity and individual knowledge. And the Christians thought that inspiration was a gift from the God. This started to change during the Renaissance, when there was a gradual separation between what was considered the spirit and what was considered the body. And the individual took the center stage. But nowadays, inspiration is still cloaked in this aura of indefiniteness. And so if we want to find an interesting work on inspiration, we have to search for a book that I cannot seem to find translated in Italian, which is Anatomy of Inspiration by Rosamund Harding. So Rosamund Harding was not a neuroscientist. She was not a creative person, for that matter. She was a musicologist and an historian, and she wrote this book, An Anatomy of Inspiration, where she studied a lot of diaries from scientists and artists like Darwin, Mozart, Tchaikovsky, Jane Austen, and she devised a theory with what she thought were the 3 rules for inspiration. So the first thing that she noticed is that artists seem to be most productive when they have accumulated an in-depth knowledge about diverse fields. And the second thing is that they have great idea when they had also had the time to rework this knowledge and these notions outside of preconstituted patterns and rigid schemes. And most importantly, they had great ideas when they were in a state of relaxation, of mental relaxation. And so this was just a theory that later has been confirmed in a way by the neuroscience. But before that, for a long time, we had no clue about what inspiration was like, how our creative mind worked, until John Locke, the philosopher, the famous philosopher, had a great intuition about this. He thought that our mind was like a cognitive magma, where ideas were interacting all the time between them in a subconscious way. So Locke thought that creativity was a combinatorial thing. Our brains are combining notions and experiences all the time, and they're making them interact. And we just notice when some ideas interact in a stronger way and become conscious, and those are called the eureka moment. And a couple of years ago, well, some years ago, like in 2017, a group of scientists from the University of Toronto, they did an interesting experiment about this. They assembled a group of 182 students and divide these students in 2 groups, the group A and the group B. Every group was given a box full of Lego bricks, building blocks. And but the group A had been given a box with where the bricks were organized according to their length and color. And in the group B, the bricks were not organized. They were random. And they asked, in a second phase of the experiment, they asked all the college students to use the bricks to create an alien body. And what they noticed is that students from group B, the one that didn't have their bricks organized, tended to create more anatomically original aliens than the other group. They did another experiment using words instead of building blocks, and they had the same outcome. So they concluded that when an individual is forced to use information following a hierarchical structure, their creativity is impaired. And this experiment is strictly associated with another experiment led by a scientist called John Cunius. And you can find a really interesting book by him, which is called The Eureka Factor. And what John Cunius did he did a lot of neuroimaging experiments. Basically, he recorded the brain waves to see where the activity sparked during some tasks. And he noticed that when people seem to find a sudden solution to a complex problem, their brain activity was concentrated in areas that are not strictly associated with the conscious reasoning and problem solving. So what Cunius wrote in his book is eureka moments are associated with a specific high frequency spike of activity in the right temporal lobe. The spike in activity is preceded by a brief intellectual interval during which a person is momentarily less aware of his or her surroundings. In contrast, none of these neural patterns are detectable when an individual is analytically solving a problem. What does this mean? This means that when we force ourselves to find new ideas and find solutions to problems, paradoxically, we are less apt to find the right solution because we are hampering our natural flow of ideas. Our cognitive magma is more rigid when we try to focus on a single problem. And this is the reason why maybe we are not sure about that, but it could be the reason why Sir Isaac Newton had his eureka moment when he was walking in his orchard, or if the first eureka moment we know about, which is that of Archimedes, happened in a bathtub. He was sitting in a bathtub and had his eureka moment. So, but we must not be mistaken about the fact that we also need hard work to create great things. It's not just that we can look outside the window and relax and we will become genius or we'll create great things. We need other two components, which are hard work once the idea is discovered, and we have to feed, we have to nurture our cognitive magma. We have to study, basically. We have to acquire new notions in diverse fields to make this cognitive magma flow. And so in her brilliant book, Rosamund Harding wrote, for the artist to rearrange ideas into new and original combination, they must have not only adequate knowledge of the primary subject matter, but also a variety of external knowledge. Technical expertise must be so advanced that it does not stand in the way of the flow of ideas. I'm rereading this one. Technical expertise must be so advanced that it does not stand in the way of the flow of ideas. So basically, what we can conclude about all these things we've seen in this brief talk is that to be the most creative we can, to get ourselves in the best condition to be creative, we have to follow 3 rules. We have to get relaxed, have a hobby, talk with people, go and have a walk. But we also have to study and be curious about diverse fields. And then we have to do a hard work to transform those ideas into reality. And if I wanted to find a slogan for this, I could draw that from a meme and say, the real rule we can follow is keep calm and study on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I have some questions before everyone else. No, sorry, I was joking. Do you have, if there are any questions, you can ask them now, or you can ask us together on our social network and then we pass to Fabio to answer, or you can ask them after we stop the recording if you don't feel like being recorded on that. There is a question.
Okay. Hi, I'm Elena. Very interesting, thank you. But I was curious more on a personal level.
Yeah.
If you can give us a kind of
Yeah, well,
regarding you?
well, the thing is that when I was talking about being curious about diverse fields of interests, the thing is that I have a scientific background, but then I became a novelist. Now I work as a non-fiction writer and a fiction writer, and I still live in the intersection between natural sciences and humanities. And I experienced on myself that what I initially thought was an obstacle, the fact that I didn't study literature and philosophy as my main fields, I thought I will never be a writer, I will never be a novelist. But then I realized that the fact that I had diverse inputs actually helped me. And it's actually helping me having original ideas and to find, to work in that gray area that usually is not that searched, because comprehensive, it's comprehensible, but it's understandable. But a lot of people study one field and then remain in that field. And of course, there is also a counterpoint, the fact that if I had studied just evolutionary theory or just literature, maybe I would be more, I would have a more in-depth knowledge about that, so I will be able to do different things. But I'm happy to move across these different fields. And speaking about the inspiration, when I was joking at the beginning of my talk about the fact that I'm bashing my head against the laptop, that is actually true. That is true because actually before you understand and then accept that you're not in control of inspiration, it takes a lot of time. Because you're like, okay, I have my job, I have all the things that I have to do, and then I found 3 hours of this day to work on my novel, and my brain is like, no, I'm not doing it now. I was about to do it under the shower or when you were trying to get asleep, but now I'm not doing it. So it's difficult at that moment, even knowing all this, to say, okay, just relax, just read another book, just call a friend. And but every time I do that, ideas arrive. Yeah.
How is easy for you to mix in a working day, relax, studying, curiosity?
Well, when I'm in Milan,
you wake up in the morning, have a coffee, take a walk, and then write? Well,
in this city, I must say, is nearly impossible. I love this city, but I'm like overactivated by it. When I'm in a different situation, that could be in the mountains, because I am a freelance, so I can work from remote. I can work remotely, and it's easier to just say, okay, I dedicate this morning to this, and I have to accept that maybe at the end of it, I will not have written down a single word, and then I spend the afternoon working on my real job. In Milan, it's really difficult because I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something all the time. And creativity is not about doing something; it's about waiting for our brain to work what we already have acquired. So it's really difficult, but if you, this is contradictory, but if you stick to a schedule, it works better. So you have to schedule.
I develop a routine during the years.
You develop a routine about not having a routine.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's a meta routine in a way.
So I can jump in. And so before going on, I would like to let you know that Spaces offers a 3-day trial to try their co-working. And so feel free to ask Margherita or the other members of the staff if you want further information. And that was the advertising part. Then I have a couple of questions. First question is more a request, a kind request if possible. You mentioned a couple of books. If you can share it with us, then I will share the bibliography.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. And the second one is about, it's a bit about the routine, because in my experience, for example, I saw that if I create a routine, something like, I know that these 2 hours in my day are dedicated to writing. Then my brain at some point understands that you can be ready for that in that moment. And this is exactly how I wrote my first book. Just deciding that from 6 to 8, I was going to write no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's about having a routine without having a routine. So
well, the thing is, no matter the outcome,
exactly.
I have to use those 2-3 hours a day, and if you manage to have 2-3 hours, I suggest I speak about writing novels. I think 3 hours is better, because the first hour it's all dedicated to what I'm doing here. I'm just wasting my life, and
okay. So that is fair.
And but then actually the routine helps your brain to relax, because if you are accustomed to spend the same cluster of hours every day on that thing, the brain is like, okay, so there are not that many expectations about this. It's something I do every day, so it's a normal thing. It's sort of a normal thing. If you're like, okay, I'm taking just 1 week in a whole year to work on my novel, chances are that you didn't get anything. You wouldn't get anything done unless, because we didn't talk about fear. Fear is as powerful as relax, because
unless you have a deadline.
When I was forced to have ideas, I remember for my first novel that just 2 weeks before going into print, my editor was like, you have to rewrite these 2 chapters. I was like, I've been working 5 years on this novel. I cannot do that. Well, you have to find a way. And I sit there and I was like, okay, let's do this. And I did that. So that was a forced relaxation, because it was like, okay,
I have no choice.
I have no choice. And what could go wrong? Because they are not publishing it unless I do this. So Charles Bukowski is known to have written his first novel in 3 weeks, and yeah, because he was working as a mailman, and he went to his agent or his publisher, who published his poetry. And he was like, okay, you told me I have to write a novel to be successful and to transform this into a real job. So I decided to quit my job. And the publisher was like, no, don't do that. I was like, I already did. So he had 3 weeks worth of money. And he came out with Post Office, which is a novel that did very good. I don't know if you like Charles Bukowski or not. It's not a likable person in many ways, but yeah. But this anecdote, I think it's very telling.
Yeah. And yes, also, so I come from the opposite background of you, because I have a degree in philosophy, and I remember when I studied Kant, for example, he was known to have a super strict routine, like walking around, blah blah blah. But that's the same structure probably.
Yeah.
So in Heidelberg also they have this work, that is the philosopher works, because everyone who Heidegger, Husserl, all the German brains was working the same work.
Yeah.
in an attempt to. But my second question is, you touched this topic before. the overload of information or stimulation, because what we see is that we have a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I mean, you already said that, for example, in Milano, it's very difficult to cut the noise out.
Yeah.
And, we have some. I think this is a shared experience. We all have LinkedIn posts to make, social networks to read or interact with, mail. Usually another job you have to do to pay for your creative part of your life. Blah blah blah. So except for routine, which is the answer? Routine.
Well, I have one suggestion. One major suggestion, which is to lose this.
Listen.
Get rid of this at least for the time you're supposed to work on creative ideas. Because every time it seems like an easy answer, but the fact that every time I do this, like, okay, I'm putting this in another room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting it on charger in my bedroom, and then I'm staying because I have to relax tonight. I just wanted to watch a movie without checking IMDb for who is that actor and stuff like that. And every time I do that, in just half an hour, my brain starts to work differently.
Yeah.
It focuses on the movie, and movies are interesting because they work on embodied simulation, which is a theory about how when we watch moving images, we immerse in that situation and we lose touch of our bodies to use the bodies we see in the movie. And for this to happen, you need to be focused on that. You need to be immersed in that. And the same applies for books and novels, which are immersive media. And I think that is the reason why books sell way less than before. But I think this applies to all creativity endeavors.
And you know that Netflix is going to. So I read a couple of articles these days. They are trying to adapt the writings of their films, knowing that people has.
Yeah, second screen experience. Yeah.
Can I add one thing here? When you say about phone, I read a research some point. There's three groups of people who needed to take a test, and none of the groups were allowed to use their phones. But in one case, they had to switch it off and have it on the table. In another one, they could have it in their bag or like next to them. And the third group, they had to leave it outside. And the difference in how they performed the test was huge. So even the fact that our brain knows that it's here,
Yes.
it kind of knows that it's switched off, but it still works differently. So the group who had it away, like outside, they actually performed best. So,
Yeah. It's I didn't read about that, but it's interesting. Well, Sherry Turkle wrote a lot of books about this, and in one specific book, I don't remember the English title, but the Italian title is La conversazione necessaria.
Okay.
And
you will tell us the English ones.
And she cited studies of conversation between people, and when they had the phone on the conversation never went deep. They didn't speak about important things because they felt, subconsciously, that they could be interrupted. So I think it seems to be a naive answer, but I think this is helpful. But for creativity is the devil.
Yeah.
So get rid of that when you can.
And for interaction, for relations too.
Yeah,
So
in person.
The conversation thing is very strong. For example, I've read a couple of articles about also dating, and this is like a red flag if someone has all the time the phone on the table when you first meet them.
Or if when they. Let me check if.
Okay, so last question, then we will switch the streaming off. We can have another couple of snacks and No, two questions. Okay. You and I don't know your name.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Regarding the phone, something I do that helps me a lot because during the day, I'm not only a creative. I apply creativity to all the aspects of my life, but I'm a CEO. So
Okay.
I do everything from shoe design, which is my actual, let's say, origin in the creative world, to almost all day long I'm in Excel, right? But I have to solve a lot of problems and speak to a lot of clients and providers, so it can become extremely boring. But what I have realized regarding the phone is that, of course, I started tracking the time I actually work during the month. And even though I'm in the office, I don't know, 10 hours a day, I may work maybe, and if it's too much, 40 hours a month. Because I'm literally always on the phone and I cannot track what I'm doing on phone. So what I started doing is I put timers. So it's like for 2 hours, I'm going to work on my numbers. So it's like, set a timer for 2 hours. I put it there. I don't need to listen to it. So it has to be close by. And also it's like a time where I say, well, in 2 hours, nobody will die. But they can die. But there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if it's the worst emergency work-wise, nothing will happen, 2 hours is fine. So it's like for 2 hours, I'm in silence, music, whatever. And when I am blocked, I always go back, of course, to my origins of shoe design. So I get a shoe last, I get some materials, paper, whatever, cartons, and I just start doing like shoes built on that.
Okay.
And while I am doing it, I'm, aside from the fact of finding functional solutions, which is where creativity comes very handy, it helps me maybe, while I am doing it, it's like, this would be fantastic for this event, and then I write it down in a piece of paper. So it always connects, but it helps me, as I stay focused, apply creativity in different aspects. And I guess that can be helpful also for the ones that are freelancers. That is not only writing, but
Yeah, of course.
you have to sell, you have to speak to the other person, you have to do something in communications, And,
I think it's a clever way to.
And it helps me also within the non-routine kind of thing. I put for communications, I use a lot of social media and different channels. So it's like 1 day a week. And that's the only day I create content and I write the articles and I split that into LinkedIn and I split that into the YouTube video and then I pass it around. And then, it's all done. So I think that's also a way of being a bit more efficient and not getting lost, which I find the downside of being creative, right? Like you usually tend to go all over the place.
Yeah.
Everything is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, look at this leaf, so beautiful. And it's like, good, you were walking to the pharmacy. Go.
Yeah, but then I think that also depends on what you are meant to post about. For example, I'm into AI ethics right now. It's like no way I can stay 1 day without, because, for example, this week, Sunday was one word, Monday was another word, literally. Yes, and Tuesday, and then the Italian guarantee for privacy of data did something, and then Mustafa Soleiman declared something else with Microsoft, and everything in the span of 4 days. And then, so this is also some kind of, everything is interesting in a way when you can choose, and there are moments when probably everything is or feels like urgent, which is urgency is another level of
this information to its own world, right?
Yeah.
Like if you are a writer and I tell you only write once a week, you cannot do that. You have to
for
write
sure.
every day. But for example, me, I'm no longer a shoe designer. I say I don't do it. I have other people doing that in the company. I still try to stick to that. And it's a hectic world.
Totally.
As you were saying of Milan, since I became a mom, to me it was, I moved 3 times. The round of investments. I moved the office twice. I had the baby. I was doing the MBA and I had to work, right? So to me, it was like, okay, 30 minutes No, nothing will happen. While I go home, I stop in a bar with a book. Whatever book, it can even be 50 Shades of Grey, like something completely out of what I do. And it's like for 30 minutes, if this is off, again, I mean, the father can run to the hospital with a kid, like nothing will happen. So it's 30 minutes and it's me, and it's like I put a timer and it's my time, it's my me time. And I think that's super important. Also, you know, when you're connected to yourself, then you give more to whatever you do. And there's actually a really interesting term, which is like, I will try to translate it. Punto massimo di efficienza energetica. The maximum, like the maximum efficiency that you can have, and that is related also to sports. I don't know if anyone does sports in here, but you know, when you train, you need to have some time where you're not training, even if you're an athlete, right? 2 or 3 hours, because your body needs to recover. You need to eat a certain amount of calories, so your body needs to recover. You need to, you know, sleep a certain amount of time so your body recovers. So it's exactly that, you know, it's what your body and mind need so you are 100% recovered and give the most out of yourself in the next workout. So it's the same for creativity.
I also think it's important to recover without thinking you are recovering for something.
No, it's, you know, but it's also, there is that in a world.
Just a point. So.
No, but it's that thing of like
No, it's
something
clear.
in your
Sorry.
non-schedule. So
Just
to me, it's like 30 minutes of time. Sometimes I just read, sometimes I speak to the neighbor. And maybe he wanted to be silent, but I'm like, okay, so tell me.
Ciao.
This is my me time, not your you time. So, you know.
Boundaries. So,
Walk around.
thank you for your intervention. We have a last question. Before that, I invite all of you, because these feedbacks are so very precious for us. If you want to write to our private DM in social networks, or I'm going to share with you later a link for the WhatsApp community chat, which is no noise, just information, but a place where you can share your inspiration if you have one, or your speaker application, or you know someone who could be interesting to be a speaker. We are trying this experiment. We will see how it goes, if it's a good place to stay for us together outside of the events. So I invite you to share what you told us today, and then if you want, we can share to the community your suggestions and your ideas, and of course your cell phone in the bathroom ideas. And so, last question, please.
Thank you for the speaking. While you were talking and everyone was talking to you, I was like on my phone, like, great ideas. I have like 2 quick questions. One is, do you think it's nice to have like a pen and paper with you all the time instead of like going with the phone and, you know, just putting it right there? And also about the to-do things on the day. Do you think it's better to do this in the morning or the day before at night? Like, how does our brain works? If it's like too much stimulation in the morning, or?
Okay, so I don't have pen and paper. I now will sound like an hypocrite, but I use this because no, but actually I put it on flight mode. And then I have this Note app, which is full of ideas, and usually I name the ideas, and then and also before the lockdown, I wrote a novel entirely on my phone. So this is to say that I'm not against phones. I think it's a matter of how you use it. But actually having pen and paper, it's better. The thing is that I'm clumsy, so I think I will lost everything. And so I prefer to use this and then send emails to my email account, so that it's Google's fault, and you can. And but actually, pen and paper there are a lot of studies that prove that we are more focused when we use pen and paper than when we use a keyboard or a phone, and different brain areas are activated. For your second question, I think it depends. I don't think there is a rule, neurologically wise, about the better moment of the day to create. I prefer the morning, and I think that the morning before the morning, it's the better time, because the city is asleep, and you feel like you're the only one awake, and so and you know that you're not receiving emails at that moment, usually, and or the night. I mean, if you start telling yourself, okay, starting from 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., I will shut my phone off, or I will forget it and dedicate this to relaxation or writing, that becomes a habit that could be useful. But I don't have a proper answer, because there are people that prefer to do everything in the morning, so they are relaxed and they have the afternoon for themselves. There are people that, a lot of writers, there was Elmore Leonard, he was writing while working, while pretending to work, because he had his desk with how do you say, the drawer, and he had a notebook in the drawer. He put his hand there, and it was like pretending to work and then writing his novel. But that was Elmore Leonard.
Another level.
So there are also crazy and brilliant people. For normal people like us, or maybe everybody's a genius, I don't know. But for normal people like us, I think that you have to find your own schedule. Try and see.
But is it still, as someone who studied neuroscience, this theory that there are people like the brain wired to be more effective in the morning against
Could be.
in the evening?
Okay, I studied neuroscience. I have a degree in biotechnology, so I studied neuroscience a little bit. And I studied for this talk, and because I wrote an article about this, and but I don't know. I think it's plausible. It's plausible because for the way our brain is structured and for the way evolution works, it could be that some people are more drawn to behave in a certain way than in another, and to function better in a certain situation than in another. But nobody tells you which one you are, so you have to find out trying.
Also, there are studies, especially for women, for obvious reason, about how the hormonal cycle impact brain in many different ways. So if you are, for example, in the ovulation phase, you're usually more creative in a way, and during or your hormones are really low. So during menstruation, your brain function in a different way, actually, because of the testosterone that is up and down. And there are books about that too. So they link the, let's say, productivity in a broad way to the hormonal changes in the body, also before the hormonal cycle starts and after the hormonal cycle stops in a way. And also for men, there is some kind of hormonal, I don't know, the woman's one is more like clear to be understood. So yeah, maybe there are many factors then. And with this amazing subject, I want to invite everyone to the Festival of Menstrual Cycle in May, but we will speak about that in another moment. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much for your speech, and I'm waiting for the suggestion to share with the community for the book. Thank you to Spaces as usual, and thank you to Adobe, which is the new international sponsor of Creative Mornings Global. Thank you for our crew there. And so enjoy the last brioche and coffee, and see you on 21 of February, which is a Friday, I hope. So that week is the Friday, with our next speaker, Alexandra, at Fiori Artificiali in Turro, so near the Red Metro. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Ah sì, cacchio.